Welcome to Tapped In. My name is David Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and today we're going to be discussing using the pause as a weapon. Sometimes when students are training, especially if you're newer, you think that movement is the key to everything, and in some ways it is. If I'm trying to pass and I have a movement form or base for passing, I like to create angles and just tire my opponent out. That's a great way to do it. Like constant movement is forcing your opponent to adjust and readjust and adjust and readjust. That it's creating a mental load and a physical load that they have to address. The problem being, sometimes we take that and we put it into all facets of what we're drilling or taking in or the goals that we're trying to do. So we'll start pushing for movement even when it makes more sense to pause. The role structure of Jiu-Jitsu rewards you for getting past the legs. That's a pass that you get points for that. For getting to top position, you'll get points for transitioning to mount, to the back, knee on belly. You get points for sweeping. But at every facet of those mile markers where you get those points, there's a point where you have to hold for 3 to set. You have to hold the position, show that you have it, and then you can start to move. So let's say I pass the guard, but I don't pause. And this is where I'm going to create a caveat where I don't pause after I pass, and then I pass right into mount. I'm going to get the pass points, and then I'm going to get the mount points. That's a position where you stop and collect your points, and then you can start moving on to the next position. If I pass and let's say I go to mount, but I immediately start going to an arm bar and I get rolled over, no points are rewarded to me. So there's a moment where we have to understand that the pause is actually a really good thing. If I can get to mount, pause, maybe start setting up the arm bar or the next submission without giving up a whole lot of space, sitting in it, getting those points, making sure you got them, and then addressing the submission that you want to go for. These are moments where we have to understand that movement is great, but stillness is also a superpower. It's also a thing that forces people to understand that they have to sit in a shitty situation for longer than they'd like. So it matters because it creates opportunities for your opponent, for you to kind of disrupt your opponent's timing and intent. If I can hold a position with weight pressure and someone's trying to escape, it's going to freeze them a little bit, especially if I have complete control. But if I pass and then I want to go to mount right away and I haven't secured the position well enough, I'm giving them a window to escape from. It also forces your opponent to kind of sit and have to take in the mental load of you being in a dominant position. Sometimes that's something I love using, disrupting someone's mental ability or the way they feel. When someone's dominant, there isn't just a dominance of the position itself. There's a dominance mentally that occurs. When I can get to a position, I'm passing, but I'm passing really heavy. I pause throughout the position. I force them to have to take in the scenery, if you will, where they have to say, fuck, this guy's passing my guard. I'm trying to defend. I'm trying to hip escape. Nothing's working. And you have to sit in that space mentally and kind of just, some people will punish themselves. Some people will adjust. Some people will just accept that it's a shitty position and this is my lot in life at the moment. And those are the best people because they don't let the mental pressure get to them as much. But a lot of people, when you can pass heavy and pause at certain key moments, and there's times when I could have got the pass a long time ago, but that's not the objective for me. The objective is to pause at key moments. I know I have supreme control. I know I have supreme weight, pressure, and angle. I want you to sit and understand that things are about to get worse. It's like watching a horror movie. And when you watch, the scare doesn't come all at once. It doesn't just show up and present itself. A really good movie makes you have to look like maybe there's a dark scene, and you've seen the movies like this before, and this is where like the jump scare happens, and the director holds a beat, and like, oh, it's going to come at any moment. Or you're looking at the scene and it's dark, but you're expecting like maybe a ghostly face in the background or something, and you're like, oh, it's going to happen any moment. You pause, and the director pauses another beat, and you're like, when's it going to happen? And then you kind of lull yourself. I was like, oh, nothing's going to happen in the scene. And then there it is. That's kind of what these pauses are really meant to do in a lot of ways. When I'm passing, I'm forcing you to have to deal with the idea that I'm going to get into an even better position. I'm pausing, letting you think that maybe you can escape, or letting you drown in the mental aspect of having to deal with my pressure. And then I pass. And by the time I pass, oftentimes people have relegated themselves to, I'm just going to be in this bad position. I'm inside back on bottom of side. I'm in bottom of mount. I'm fucked. And oftentimes you can get people to mentally quit when you can create these pauses where they have to sit in that. Don't rush these techniques. Don't rush these passes. There are techniques that you're going to have to rush through. Like, I got to get to this triangle position in a beat. There is no pausing at that stage. But I have it fully locked in. Maybe a little pause. Then I start going for the wrist. Maybe we hold, let them tire themselves out, kind of like a boa constrictor with a rodent. It pauses, waits, then constricts it. And then it waits for like the exhale, and then it constricts a little bit more. Then another exhale, constricts a little bit more. But it's not rushing. That's what we kind of have to get to. Don't rush your techniques. Again, some of them you're going to have to really push. But a lot of these techniques, they're built on slower pacing. So one, what happens is you get to conserve some energy. You get to shift the mental tempo in your favor, and you get to have a little bit of fun. It's completely fun for me. And I know this sounds a little sadistic. When I can get people to mentally quit. When you're in a bad position after bad position, and I haven't really even got started yet, and then you mentally just kind of check out. I've had people who just tap. They're like, I'm done with this. And then I'd rather just restart. Fair. I get it. On the mat, when it comes to the pauses can also be used as information gathering. When you stop, sometimes they adjust. And in that adjustment, you have the answer for the next movement that you're going to do. And sometimes these micro movements that they do are huge tells. And sometimes they're big movements. If I'm passing and I notice I pass and I start driving my weight, maybe they have knee shield and I'm driving my weight down and they shift their knee shield a little lower than it should be. That would not have happened if I didn't pause. If I rushed it, they may have found a gap in my pass that allowed them to get that inside foot back to the hip, and then they square back up, and we have to deal with the whole process. When I'm passing, I'm often passing at an angle, so I'm straddling their bottom leg, and then they have knee shield. So I sometimes grab the belt or pants, and then I grab collar, and I start pressing. And I press and I hold, and I watch and I watch, and I want to see where they're going to go with this. They can only hold for so long. So sometimes I let off the weight just to see what their next movement is. And sometimes they'll shift that knee shield the wrong way. And in that wrong way, I get to collapse it now. My chest and rib cage goes over the knee shield, and I kind of sprawl on there, and that's going to solidify a pass even further. And let's say I crush the knee shield, I pass it, and now we're chest to chest in half guard, I'm on top. I pause. I let them decide what's the next outcome. I don't want to work for it. I don't want to work to the point where I have to pass all of your defenses. I want to work in a way that you think you're drawing up the next defense, but in that you're giving me a window to climb through. That's what I kind of want. So sometimes that for me is if they hip escape, it creates space between our hips. I get to draw my knee in, the one that's between their legs, up higher, and then I can knee cut. Or they don't. Maybe I go reverse half. I'm facing their hips now, and I open up my arm, the one closest to them, so it looks like they can get an underhook. And I pause, and it feels like fishing. And they'll drive their hand through for the underhook. I grab their hand, and now we start battling for like Kimura straight arm bar grips from that position. But it happened because I paused. It happened because they knew they were in a bad position. I gave them an quote unquote an opportunity to try to come through. And then I take advantage of that. The pause in moments of deep physical or mental pressure are going to open up a lot of windows for you. You get to surprise people. You get to set up traps. You get to fish. And that's what it feels like when I do that underhook trick. It feels like I'm fishing. And I create a little bit of an opening intentionally. I'm not so close and so protected that the underhook doesn't happen. I open up that arm just enough to make them think that they could. And then I take it. You can also build timing off of passing, off of pauses. When I'm passing open guard, sometimes I will stand in a way that I'm off slightly to an angle, and then I just play their feet. So they need to use the feet to either hook or press against your body. So then my job at that point is just to fend off the feet from hooking or pressing against my body. And what that does is with a few minutes, it tires them out. They don't defend as well. They start getting frustrated. Their legs start getting tired. And then once I sense that that's happening, because again, I've paused my advancement. Once I feel that's happening, that's when I start pressuring them forward. And then I start dropping my weight. And now the knee shield is tired because it's been fending off, just trying to get to a position of a sweep. And then we start doing everything else that we would normally do during passing. That emotional tempo is a superpower. I'm telling you, once you hone in on it, things open up far faster than you think. Some additional examples. When I butterfly sweep, for example, let's say I have double unders. I'm on my back. Maybe they were trying to pass a certain way, or I just got double unders and I pulled them. My feet are flared. They're active. So he is unable to just hop off. When he moves, my feet follow. But his upper body is stuck to mine. There's no moving. Sometimes I'll notice that their hands are spaced out. They understand that, especially in the beginning, when you first get it, the first thing they need to do is block your sweeps in either direction. So I relax. My grip around their body, their upper body, again, I have 2-on-1s, is firm, tight, but it's relaxed, if that makes sense. I'm not gripping to the point of like my arms being shaking with tension. I just sucking all that space in like a deep hug. My feet are flared. They're constantly moving and monitoring his hips. I have to. If my feet relax and they're just stuck to me, he's going to hop off. So anytime his hips move, I move. So then when he relaxes a bit is when I go. So I have this position. I'm holding. I'm not giving him any indication of which way I'm going, even though I go left every time or 90% of the time. So as soon as he relaxes, he or she, that's when I sweep immediately. It is literally a second or two between when I notice it and when I'm already reversed the position I'm on top. It becomes such an asset for me. I can also do this from like shoulder clamp butterfly. If I immediately pull them on, I don't go right away because they're anticipating the sweep. So they're harder to sweep at that stage. And sometimes if I'm in a rush, I'll go and I can still get the position. But again, the older I get, the more I want to initiate contact on my terms with the easiest return on investment possible. So when I pull that in and I hold, I wait a beat and they struggle, kind of like you're fishing. And then you wait for the body to tire or to the anticipatory tension to kind of relax. Because then they'll want to almost think, okay, so what's he going to do? And when you feel that slack, hit the sweep. It is a beautiful thing to do. And again, just like I mentioned before, passing works this way too. I am making them work and I'm pausing my advancement just long enough to see what they might do, long enough to tire them out a little bit before I make physical contact with the rest of my body. And I'm forcing them to have to adjust and then readjust and then adjust and then readjust. And I'm using the minimal amount of strength, minimal amount of energy. I'm just sitting or standing and fending off the feet. And then when there's a huge opening or when they get tired, I go right through the window, front door, whatever you want to say. Another one that I find incredibly useful, and most people do not use this, is grip breaking. If we could imagine me in the top of half, I have a partner who likes to do Kimuras from bottom. So he will always grab the outside hand. If I'm passing on my left, let's picture me in half guard, knee shield, I'm straddling his right leg, which is the bottom leg, and maybe I have the hand weaving through the legs. It doesn't really matter. He will almost always grab my outside hand, the wrist. And if I pull, he knows that he needs to be tense. So his hand will just follow. And it becomes really hard to break that grip because he's so strong that I can't break it effectively and I tire myself out. So what I've started doing the last year or so, I relax the hand completely. Completely. I might pull the elbow in slightly, but you don't feel any tension in my hand. I don't want the elbow out where he can just go to Kimura. So I pull the elbow in just slightly and then the hand goes kind of limp. And because the hand is limp, I'm not giving him a tell of, okay, he needs to hold on. He's using the pause to maybe start thinking about advancing. I'm going to use the pause to break the grip. So when I feel that he is kind of loosened up and because we're connected, we could feel that, I immediately yank the hand back. And that grip will break most of the time, ridiculously amount of time. The same will happen if people have like a sleeve grip and I'm trying to break it and I'm using all the different techniques and I have his sleeve and he has mine, but I can't break it. Sometimes I go limp and then I burst through the grip or I pull back the grip. As long as your body is tense, the portion that you're trying to control is tense, it's easy for them to follow suit. You're tense, they're tense. They know you're going to do something. They know you want to pull away. So the snare grows tighter. When you can relax enough, you'll feel them relax, and they're not anticipating the next sudden move. So that's when you just yank, pull away, twist, snap, whatever it might be. But it's become a game changer when it comes to hand and grip fighting for me. That sometimes I just loosen up, they loosen up, and because I'm first to the action, I get my way and I get out of there. I'm hoping that these things kind of helped. If they don't or they're too conceptual, please let me know. Lastly, some kind of common mistakes in these positions is pausing too long, giving them the reset, which is an issue. So you're going to have to practice this and see, okay, I've sat here 5-6 seconds and now he's just building up his arsenal or his response. You don't want to pause that long. Sometimes we overthink the pause. Let it flow. With practice, you'll start to sense when you got to go, when you don't go. And it's going to be a huge asset for you. Also, don't let the pause be a form of hesitation. This is strategic. This is an idea that you're going to be using to formulate other responses. This is not us sitting and hesitating and allowing our opponent to do everything they want to do. This is just something that we slow down, think about things, and then move. You cannot sit here too long. If you have any questions, comments, anything, please let me know. DFM.2099 on Instagram and Threads. I'm usually available for questions. I love answering and helping people out. Additionally, I have a free school community, DFM Coaching BJJ. You can look it up or go through the show notes. Again, anything that you need from me, let me know. Until next time, thank you so much.